Welcome to the Instinctive Influencers podcast, a show where influence becomes one of your tools for success. Now, here are your hosts, Brian Weber and Ed Haley.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I am Batman. Ed. Sorry. Just caught in a moment.
And this is the Instinctive Influencers podcast. Ed, that's kind of like that one time where I said, "Hi, I'm Ed." That's the first thing I thought
We
of.
need a blooper episode.
Oh my goodness! If people only saw, like, so now the way we record it, I don't edit anything out really. So it's kind of like we have to remind our P's and Q's really well, and we have to try not to fumble around. But if they'd have seen us in the first, let's just say, 25 episodes, how horrible and how funny things would be. It's almost kind of upsetting to myself.
Like my director's commentary whenever you would go to the latrine.
Yeah. So it's different now. It's like we got to do all this prep work before. Like I'm downstairs making coffee, and I'm like, all right, I got to do this. Oh, don't forget to go to the bathroom because I'm not going to get to stop in the middle, type thing. But yeah, I totally get you. Yeah, there's been plenty of times where we record and like, hey, can you hold on a second?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. Hey, first and foremost, happy anniversary. 20 years almost. Not yet. It's you're at 18, isn't it? Is it 18?
20 together, 18 married.
20. Wow, that's something else.
Yeah, it's something else. All right. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's been fun. It's been fun. I couldn't imagine doing things without her. We got to go to Athens and we really took advantage, took lots of pictures. The GoPro Hero 9 and the voice control, like we were setting it up. They have a national garden, really beautiful, and we would set it up and then we would just like tell I don't want to say it because it's right here, but we would tell the camera to take a picture and it would snap pictures. So we got some pretty good pictures. So it's like, I don't know, it just makes it really convenient. So yeah, we had a good time. It was warm, man. Like I don't know what they closed the Acropolis, which is the main site in Athens. It's like dedicated to Athena, and it's a whole story to it. But it was like 41 degrees Celsius up there, which I'm not even sure what that is in Fahrenheit. But it was hot enough that they closed it because it's not easily accessible. So if somebody were to go down up there, like it's difficult probably to get them down.
Right,
but it worked because then we hung out at like a little cafe and had some. Appetizers, had a nice squid or octopus salad, and waited until it opened before we walked up there. But yeah, it was amazing, man. Amazing celebration of our anniversary. 18 years of ceramics. So I got a vase with Athena and Neptune's battle on it, and then she got two little vases, ceramic vases too. So it worked out. We were in Athens, and we were able to buy the traditional gifts this year.
That's pretty cool. So Athens doesn't it have like the Colosseum? Not the Colosseum. The cathedral. No, is it the Parthenon?
The Parthenon. Yeah,
the original Parthenon.
It's like the one in Nashville, but
yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Like triple, and it's not the biggest one that they had. There's a temple to Zeus in Athens that's not up on the hilltop, and it's actually bigger than the Parthenon. So the Parthenon, but the Parthenon, that whole hill is all dedicated to the goddess Athena and Greek mythology. And it was kind of cool to hear that. And then you get to hear like how they kind of went to Christianity, and some of the temples weren't taken care of because now they were very much like, well, now we're worshiping false idols. So we have to leave it and go this way because we're becoming Christians now. Because I don't know how many times that place has been conquered, but several. So it was interesting to hear. But Athena's, I actually got a little Athena statue out of it because I was like, oh, what a warrior. Her story, like her myth was so amazing. I was like, yeah, I'm getting me a Athena statue to add to my collection. So now she can when
I see like Athena like that, I think of Wonder Woman, Yeah. And I wonder how much Athena played the role in like the development of it. I mean, we're big comic book nerds, but yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I would say a lot based off the story. Like when you really hear the story, I would say because she's the goddess of like, not just warrior fighting. She's like the goddess of wisdom, and she's the goddess of like all these other things
Right.
So maybe, yeah, that's a good point, though. I could see it. And the way they usually depict her looks very much like an Amazonian warrior is depicted in the DC
Very.
universe. So it could be.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We led so far into this, and let's
I know.
reverse back.
My
It's
bad.
about your anniversary. It was your anniversary trip,
Yeah.
and you often hear people with guys, somebody will say, "I'm sorry you had to put up with him for so long." I'm gonna reverse that, buddy. I'm gonna reverse that. I'm gonna change the norm here. Hey, bless you, sir, for putting up with that woman for so long. She's just she's a character.
She is.
She's your match. She is your match.
It's sad when I'm like the normal one in the relationship. Like I feel like sometimes,
Yes.
like I mean, I say things and I think I'm saying something wild, and she comes back with something so much wilder. But I love her. I'm telling you, I couldn't imagine.
No, yeah. It's like listen. I could only imagine what if you had to live in a nursing home when you're older, which I doubt you two would. I could only imagine the antics or the, it would be like a party every day at the nursing home, I think.
I mean, we would make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of chemicals being released, like hormone chemicals. I think we're talking about that today.
Oh yeah, that is. Oh, we're actually doing a podcast about stuff. We're not just talking about life.
We're not just catching up.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, buddy. You got me on track. No. I think that's our good news story this week, man. It's just it's like seeing good friends who have been married forever and have been dealing with the same forever. So.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Okay. If you don't know what I'm talking about, read Tammy's post. Happy anniversary, Tammy.
Yeah, she's a strange bird, man. She's my favorite.
Yeah,
she's one of my favorite. Like, she's up there.
Yay!
Yeah,
I got you, eh?
Oh man! All right.
Hey, so we're getting into this. We're actually doing the show. We've talked about it before. I think I mentioned a couple times. We did that self-care not too long ago, which is really good. And so we're kind of mixing back and forth with self and taking care of self or doing enough for self to do for others. And then also leadership type stuff. So it's like we're bouncing back and forth, where to me, Ed, I feel like that's that balance, right? I've heard about work family or work life balance type stuff before, and I had a commander once. It was Lieutenant Colonel that was actually at Carson, and he said there's no such thing as work life balance. You just got to try your best to do what you can, and I kind of agree with him because sometimes it's like, especially as soldiers, it's different. I really believe it's different than from the civilian sector. However, there are a lot of civilian jobs that are they're like ours. But that work-life balance, and that's what we're saying. Like we're doing that. So leadership, taking care of myself. Leadership, taking care of, and you have to be able to keep juggling that back and forth, because at some point, if one of them falls, the other one's just going to go out of control. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because there was a poll on LinkedIn that was talking about like working weekends and should you work weekends to set yourself apart. And my response was that you have to find a work-life balance. Like you're taking away from your family to work weekends to stand out, but is it worth the effect it's going to have on your family? Are you really standing out, or are they just going to make you, the horse that they ride till your back breaks and then you go to the glue factory?
Yes.
So it's really funny. I mean, I just saw this poll recently on there, and it was a lot of interesting comments. But I also think in military, from my perspective, a lot of times the officer side, they are a little more like we have to work weekends. We have to like work. And they don't seem to strike that balance. But I think that they need to have that work-life balance just like we do. Good example, captain that I worked with at one point, wife has to go home, right? He on emergency leave, and he was going to put her on the plane to go on emergency leave while he continued mission. And I was like, no, but because that's how they see it, right? Like the mission's got to happen. I said, okay, well, I'll do your mission. You get on the plane and take your wife and get her settled, So I think that that's a very important thing. You do have to have it. You can't convince me otherwise. But yeah, so same thing with leadership in yourself. Like as a young sergeant, I wasn't taking care of just myself. I was so worried about the soldiers that I was stagnant for promotion because I wasn't finding the balance to focus on my promotion. Yep. But the flip is we also both encountered people who they're so focused on themselves and their promotions that they don't take care of their soldiers and they don't help their soldiers advance. So it's a delicate balance. I really think that it has to be found, though.
I love how you said that. It's like you're finding that balance, and that's what what our show is going to be about, with the balance of chemicals within our body and what they produce and what they do for us. However, at the same time, how can we provide the certain types of feelings that people will get, or the types of situations where they also receive the same chemicals to help them improve? You know what I mean? So I like where you went with that, brother. I would definitely say, Ed, in my previous I've got you in my grasp. All you need now is like a fake cat that you can just sit there and pet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mr. Bigglesworth.
Yes. No, but a fake, like one of those fake. Have you ever seen those like fake ones that look almost real?
Yeah.
They're kind of creepy. They're really creepy.
I
don't want my. I don't. They just sit there and you're just like, is that real? Should I touch it? I don't like cats anyway. So so I would definitely say, when you talk about that work-life balance, I noticed on my last tour duty, in my last duty station, I found myself learning how do what you need to at work. If you got to stay just an hour late, then stay an hour late. If you have to stay 2 hours late, 2 hours late, let my wife know. However, don't take it home with me. And I used to tell my commander, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing any of this at home. I'll do it at the office. If it was if it was an emergency, you know what I mean? If I had to do a serious incident report or something like that, obviously I'm going to do that, because that's like a report that goes up. But in most cases, I didn't do any work at home unless I had to, or except for when we had to do all the working from home stuff during the crisis.
That's and I'm kind of the same. I've always been. If my wife knows that if I bring work home, it's something important. It's not just it's not insignificant. It's something that actually has to get done. But usually I only do my travel closeout from home. That's the only thing I really can say I do at home regularly, is close out my trips. Because
that's money, baby. That's money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah. All right, Ed. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into 4 different types of happiness chemicals. If you're out there and you're watching us on YouTube, which, by the way, YouTube's a great thing. First, smash the like button or the thumbs up button for us. Hit it once. Don't hit it twice. Just hit it once. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment if you like, and also subscribe. However, that's not what I was trying to get after. What I was trying to get after is, if you're watching, you'll see I've got this little piece of paper. We're kind of going off of this a little bit, but also I found some important documentation about these different types of chemicals. I'll post this on our closed Facebook group, and Ed will tell us about that a little bit later on how you can get into that. So make sure you stay tuned on the show. And I'll post this. So if you want this, I keep this, and I keep this copy actually on my whiteboard right here. I have some magnets. I magnetize it up here. And every once in a while I like to look up at it. And it's like that reminder. It's something in your face. A lot like a visionary board. I think we've talked about those before. It's just nice to have.
About vision boards.
Yeah. I think we talked about it with Rick some time back.
Yeah.
Which still working on some Rick Williams commercials that are going to be fantastic. The best of Rick Williams. I just don't want to. I don't want to just. Oh yeah, you definitely will look forward to these. I'm actually looking. I'm trying to figure out. How to do video ones. And it's not as easy as you think it is to find a bald cap and also a beard to put on your chin.
That's funny because I was just thinking I should see if I can get a beard.
I'm just saying, like when I start doing some of these commercials and I can videotape them with a GoPro and edit them into the show, well, let's just say it's going to be amazing. Anyway, so we're talking about the 4 happiness chemicals, and if you don't know what those are, and you saw the paper real quick, we're talking dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, and serotonin. These are primarily they can be the driving force of like positive emotions we feel throughout the day. Now, excuse me. I would definitely tell you, I didn't understand this or know what these were until I read a book. And I'd read it multiple times because obviously he writes in a manner that is above my education level. I'm 5th grade. That's all. I can only read to a 5th grade level, so it takes me a while to sound out words. But it's this book here, Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last. Amazing book. We've talked about it multiple times. We've done shows on it. So I thought I was like, if Simon puts it, and I said to Ed, if Simon puts it in the first 10% of his book, it's got to be important. I mean, it's the catch. It's what gets you there. And I really enjoyed like how he explains it and kind of breaks it down to us. And it almost like dummifies it for people like me. And I didn't realize how important it is. What would you say?
Yeah. You and for people like me, it just caught me off guard. I thought it was funny. I don't know why. I'm sorry. It's late.
You thought it's funny because you know me. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through and we're going to talk about each one of these different types of chemicals and what they provide to the body. Now, this particular article that we have, they use the acronym DOSE, which is kind of cool. It's like if you get your daily dose, then you're going to feel good about things. So what it is, I said we have serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. Serotonin, basically, it's a mood stabilizer, well-being, and also for your happiness. Dopamine, and this is just a quick sheet. We're going to go into each one individually. Dopamine, this is pleasure, motivational role in the brain's reward system. Oxytocin, that's that bonding, loving, trust chemical. And then endorphins, which is pain relief, runner's high, and relaxation. I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, prior to the show starting, I got a fat shot of endorphins from Ed here because he couldn't get me to stop laughing because of all the things he was saying about his wonderful marriage. So thank you very much, Ed, for providing me with my endorphins. All right, so let's jump right into dopamine. That's our first one. I know you've got some notes. You got some things you want to talk about too. What do you got for dopamine, man? What do you want to bring up?
I don't know that you're going to be completely happy here, Brian, but so dopamine it triggers the little happy feelings, right? And one of the negative aspects of the dopamine, actually, let's go with the positive. So dopamine is good because what it does is you can work towards a larger goal by setting smaller goals, and achieving those smaller goals gives you that release of dopamine to try to drive you to the next goal. So I've heard it in running, but I kind of the analogy I came up with is if you think about a professional sports franchise, right? You want to win your games, and then that you reach that goal. So you start winning some games, okay, and then the team starts to feel better, and then you want to make the playoffs. Okay, now you've made the playoffs, right? That's another release of dopamine, and then now you want to win your playoff games without cheating. And then that's another release of dopamine, right? And then your overall goal, all those things were leading you to the championship game. And that's the big release of dopamine. And now you've achieved that goal. When you do research on running, and I've read some articles about running, same thing. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Yeah. Still living in your past. I don't think he wears that uniform. So when you run, you don't run 2 miles outright. You run the next minute or you run the next quarter mile. And you've just focused on that. So I do this Nike Run Club app, and that's what they tell you. We're only running for the next 30 seconds. to get to the next 30 seconds, to get to the next. So those small dopamine releases are building towards, I want to run for 45 minutes, but I'm running whatever, 3 minutes at a time, quarter mile, whatever the goal is, it's small. And dopamine isn't long lasting to the point where, okay, that was enough. It makes you want the next one. And then, of course, the negative aspect is getting likes on social media, which we enjoy, Brian. You and I enjoy getting likes. We get that thumbs up on YouTube is a dopamine release for us, right?
Yes, yes.
It also can become very addictive. People, I mean, I literally had a conversation with somebody last week that was like, yeah, I had to take the app off my phone because I found myself not even realizing it. And I was opening my phone, clicking to Facebook and going through it. And I literally was doing it without thinking about it because I was so addicted to it. That's kind of the negative. No, it was somebody I was talking to last week. So that's kind of the negative aspect of it, right? Because that pleasure that dopamine release can also form a bad habit, such as, being obsessive and checking your social media and things of that nature. So
yeah, addiction
is what I think about dopamine.
I want to kind of dive into what this article says here, and it's very matching to what you just happened to say. Obviously, you're way better at paraphrasing than me. You've probably heard of dopamine if you've been listening to ongoing news about tech addiction, which you just brought up. Dopamine causes the little happy feelings when someone likes your post on Instagram, fill in a checkbox, or completes a small task. I think about this, and it's like it's a give and take of, if you think about the book where what was Great Leaders Have No Rules by Kevin Cruz, and he says don't do checklists or don't tasks lists. Yes. Versus doing crowd your calendar, but sometimes it's nice to be able to check something off to make you feel complete.
That's
I guess.
Yeah,
it is. Like when you think about like completing your degree, when you turned in that last assignment, Ed, did you feel a sense of happiness and relief over your entire body type thing?
I did. Yes, I did. You do. And as you're writing it, so the way that paper was designed was every week or every 2 weeks, I owed 9 pages. And as you're turning that first 9, you're like, wow, that felt great. And I found myself hitting submit and then going right into starting to think about the next 9 pages. I would whiteboard the 9 pages after I submitted it. And that's that dopamine release, right? So yes, it does work very well for that.
So basically you were playing off of that high of dopamine to get ahead or to create small victories for yourself.
Yeah, that motivation to just push.
Absolutely. And so you knew, it's almost like you weren't thinking about it being released to your body, but you were using it to your advantage. And that's where we're going with today's show. It's like identifying this feeling and saying, you know what? I can do more, or I can do this, or it's that building to become a better person and to help yourself. All right, real quick. Despite the bad press, dopamine is an incredible drug. It's meant to motivate your body towards a distant goal, one step at a time. Without dopamine, early humans never would have had motivation to hunt down large mammals and benefit from investing effort into long-term goals. Today, dopamine is what helps you get through your to-do list or motivates you to start a new habit. Let's see. However, dopamine has become a real problem because of its addictive nature and how closely tied to it are bad technology habits. I think that's a lot that's where Simon goes into it. When you watch his videos about these things and he talks about the addiction of social media, he's like, social media is not bad. It's just we turn it bad. It's the same thing with drugs, because I don't want to push anyone in any one direction when it comes to doing, like social media stuff. However, drugs, I won't tell you, don't do them. It's not good for your body, because now you're basically creating these different type of, the blockers are opened up and so much dopamine's rushing in. And I was watching a video about it. Those are like, that's bad for you. That's not good for you. You don't want long-term dopamine, because it'll create other problems, down the road. You may not be able to release any more dopamine or this or that, like the body starts changing because of what it's getting. right?
Yeah, and it seems like too, like if you do something to give you a synthetic feeling of dopamine, right? Not something naturally achieved by your body, that after time your body's going to adjust to. We all know the body is incredible. So now your body's adjusted to those levels of dopamine. Well, how do you get into that good feeling zone now? You get used to it, becomes the norm. It doesn't feel the same. So I think that's kind of the danger of, achieving it without not naturally achieving it. So, and then the social media.
Absolutely.
So my wife will laugh when she hears this. So one thing we noticed a lot in Athens, and we did some parody of it ourselves, Instagram modeling or Instagram, the influencers. I mean, here you are in one of the most beautiful, sites in the world. You're on top of the Acropolis, and your focus is literally like walking away from a camera and turning back at it, and ruffling your hair and getting those perfect pictures to put on Instagram. Why? Because you want those likes, right? And you want that dopamine release. So that's an
Yes.
addiction. But I feel like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, you're missing some of the beauty behind where you're at, because all you're really worried about is that perfect picture to get some thumbs ups. Or what is it on Instagram? Is it
Ooh,
thumbs
yeah.
up? Is it likes? It's hearts on Instagram. So you want the hearts.
Yeah, you get hearts on Instagram. Yeah. We're getting all. So, did you see that a lot while you were there? Did you see people doing that?
Yes, enough that we did a parody. I'll send you a picture. We did some parodies of it, of me and my wife. So yes, you see it way too much, and you'll be walking and trying to walk, and they'll just stop in front of you to do it, and it's like, come on, man, like get out the way. But teach their own.
Yeah.
Hey, if that's your thing. Hey.
Yeah. No, that's funny. Like,
yeah, so.
It's funny you said, like, so we went hiking yesterday, and
Great pictures.
I took a lot of pictures. Yeah, thanks. I took a lot of pictures, but I didn't. There was two that you saw us. We're doing a family photo, right, type thing, and we like to kind of save those over the time, and our phone reminds us of them like every year. It's weird. It's like every day you get like 3 years ago, this is what you were doing, and like holy crap, just my phone, not even Facebook. But all it was candid. None of it was that posing stuff, I guess, that people do. I mean, and I don't want to knock people, because some people make a living off that. However, it's like, you're right. Like, you've got to admire what's in front of you too. I mean, you're looking at, like, I would love to come to Europe. I would love to enjoy what you two have gotten to see so far, and take my children to, because it's like, we're not getting younger. So, but yeah, that's crazy, man. No, you're not.
I mean, you're right. You can take pictures based off, like I said, we went to the National Garden there, and we're like, it's so beautiful here. Let's take pictures of us, and then we actually have a frame, the digital frame. We have one that's our family,
yes,
and then we have one that's only for us and the poodle, and and so we upload them there because it's nice to relive those memories and get that dopamine release that it brings from seeing those pictures. So, yeah.
Huh. Absolutely. So dopamine, according to our quick chart, is how you get it. Eating food, which I'm a foodie, so I love tacos, and I am in the perfect place to love tacos. El Paso. Achieving a goal. Receipt. Basically, if you think about it, you're trying to get a degree. Every time you finish class, that's a way. Or you're trying to reach a new physical feat. You're trying to lift heavier, be faster. Every time that you get, you hit those PRs or personal records, you're achieving that goal. So you're getting a little release of that dopamine. Getting enough sleep, Ed. Getting enough sleep is a dopamine. I didn't realize that. I need more sleep.
I'm gonna have to use that. Yeah. I'm gonna use that on my wife to go to bed earlier. I need my dopamine.
I take my melatonin by 7:30. I'm out by 8. So, and then the last one on this little quick chart was kind of funny. Having a bath. When's the last time you ever took a bath, Ed? Not a shower, a bath.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
Like a real bath. You got into a bathtub and you just kind of soak in a tub. When's the last time?
Maybe a month or so, a couple months.
Really?
Yeah, I enjoy a good bath and some Netflix.
Oh my goodness! Wow, dude.
Especially so, the reason is because I would go lift heavy and I would come back and put ice cold water in there, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. And I would
Okay.
slide into a cold bath to start
So
some of the recovery process.
okay, yeah, okay, I get what you're going. Dude, I haven't taken a bath, and I don't know how long. Like I don't remember.
You're
That's
missing
how
out.
long it's been. I'm gonna have to try that, man. Now hold on. Now I would say what you just said there. When I was in Korea, worst idea ever. I filled up the bathtub with ice water, like ice. I put a bunch of ice and water. Man, my ankles hurt like you wouldn't believe. But we're gonna talk about that with some other chemicals.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. That's crazy. All right, hey, we're moving on. We're moving on to oxytocin.
Ooh.
All right, quick story. I love oxytocin. So my main man, Ethan, he is not a morning person. Ed does not like getting up in the morning, except for today. Like this is the day I'm gonna record with Ed, so I have my little routine in the morning. So that's what I do. I go downstairs, I make coffee, I just prepare. I hear this. I'm in the bathroom and I hear this bang, boom, bah. I'm like, what in the world? I go in there. He's opening drawers, but he doesn't like have a sense of other people around him. Sometimes he just closes the door. He doesn't care, And I'm like, what are you doing, buddy? And he's like, oh, I'm getting up. And he's like completely wide awake. And I'm like, this is not my kid. Like, when did the alien abduction happen? Type thing. It was funny that he's not a morning person, Ed. However, what I've started to do with him, and I've been programming him for oxytocin. It was not too long ago. I'd say it was probably about 2 weeks ago. He's up early. So when you see Ethan, he gets up in the morning, he puts on this robe, and then he ties it. And he makes me think of I'm living with a 30-year-old man in a small kid's body, just the way he acts. He'll come downstairs, hey, where's my coffee type thing. I'm dead serious. When I poured me a cup, I poured him a cup this morning. So he comes out. I'm in the gym or the garage downstairs, and my wife's out there, and Ethan comes out there, and he's still all cranky. And myself, Michelle, and Eva, we're like wide awake. We're like moving. We're feeling great. Ethan's kind of like, I hate mornings, that he doesn't sound like that, but he's close to it. So I said, Ethan, you need oxytocin, don't you, buddy? He's like, what is that? And I'm like, well, come here and I'll give you some oxytocin. And he's like real hesitant, and he doesn't want to come towards me. I'm like, no, come here, buddy. Because he thinks I'm going to like mess with him or something. I'm like, come here, I'm going to give you some oxytocin. He's like, all right, Dad. And then I just wrap my arms around him real hard and I give him a big old hug and I tell him I love him and I give him a kiss on the head. And he's like, he just kind of like, I saw his attitude go from that really like butthead to, oh, I feel good, And so now he will come up to me. He like yesterday, we're hiking. He's like, Dad, I haven't had oxytocin yet today. And I'm like, you haven't? Well, come here. And so I'll wrap my arms around him and give him a big hug. It's just funny now he asks for oxytocin. So my story, my Ethan story for today.
No, that's great. That is so great.
Yeah.
There's some grown people that don't know what oxytocin is, so it's even better.
They need to.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and we're going to go into now. Let me rephrase this just a little bit. Oxytocin is a great thing, but don't just try it with anybody at work. You could get a sharp case. Okay,
you could definitely get in some trouble. Yeah.
Keep your distance. All right. So Ed. All right. Oxytocin is often affectionately referred to as the hugging drug because it is released by the brain during physical contact with others. It's also the feeling behind love, friendship, or deep trust. If humans are social animals, oxytocin is one of the main reasons why. Tell us, Ed, what do you got on that board? I can see you reading it now.
You can see me reading. No, so when we talk about in the article, it talks about the hugging drug and physical contact, but it's not just hugging. So with the current situation and trying to come back from this pandemic, like there's one that's we're not able to do that we used to do that I think will come back, but the handshake. that a handshake releases, it releases a little oxytocin. That's why you do it at the beginning. My thoughts, you do it at the beginning of a meeting or something, because you're getting that good feeling out of that to start the meeting. You're setting a positive vibe for the meeting. So, I mean, that was one of the things when I was reading this article. I was like, I think it's going to make a comeback. I mean, I've been doubtful. And I can tell you, for me, I deal with a bunch of different countries. And some of them are very much still, they never stop the handshake. The elbow thing we were doing, they weren't doing that. So, like for me, once I realized that, then I was like, okay, well, I mean, I can't shake their hand. And then you just kind of indiscreetly like put a little, Purell and then clean up your hands. But, and I think it really is. It's just a thing. Like, I mean, generations and generations, it's been a handshake to greet somebody. And it's because there's an oxytocin release. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and so oxytocin boosts our immune system, it says. All right. It also makes us better problem solvers and makes us more and makes us more resistant to the addictive qualities of dopamine. So it's kind of it's that counter effect to help us, deal with those addictive qualities of dopamine. Unlike dopamine, which is largely responsible for instant gratification, oxytocin gives us a lasting feeling of calm and safety. When you read from Simon Sinek's book, I wanted to go in here. What he talks about it, he actually refers to this is one of two chemicals that he refers to as the circle of safety drug. Right. So he likes to talk about circle of safety. And there's a couple of videos he does on YouTube, you can see where he refers to the circle of safety, who's in it, who's what protects you and things like that. And he basically classifies oxytocin as one of those two drugs. Let's see. He says right here, oxytocin is most people's favorite chemical. All right. So even over dopamine. It's the feeling of friendship, love, or deep trust. It is the feeling we get when we're in the company of our closest friends or trusted colleagues. It is the feeling we get when we do something nice for someone or someone does something nice for us. It is responsible for all the warm and fuzzies. This is the feeling we get when we would hold hands and say kumbaya together, or Hakuna Matata, if you know the Lion King. But oxytocin is not there just to make us feel good. It is vital to our survival instincts. Ed, I was thinking about, man, as I was reading that, and it's talking about being with friends and colleagues. When you and I and Rick would get together in a room, I think we were getting a shot of oxytocin, bro. I think we really were, because I can't think of times where it was unpleasant or I walked away like that was horrible or I wasted my time. Never did I do that as we were working together in that group. And when I think back at the different people I've worked with, I thought to myself, okay, these are the type of people I like to be around, or this person, I like to be around this person. I like, and now I'm thinking, it's like, I wonder if they felt the same way too, So I think making those pleasant interactions and wanting to be around people, that's one of our ways to, to shoot this, brother.
Yeah, I think it is. And inadvertently, like when I do these trips, I travel with about anywhere from 7 to 10 of us total, right? And one of the things that I usually tell everybody is like the last night of the trip, we generally will all go out to eat together. To kind of like, it's the end of the trip. We met our intent for this trip, but that's also an oxytocin release, because I also, for what I do, I usually generally I'm gonna travel with the same people for a few months, several trips. So you start building that team, which I think this plays well into team building, the oxytocin, because as you get comfortable in that team, you start to develop those close friendships, and you develop that trust with that team. So, for instance, we just did this trip and I really needed to be at two different places at the same time. And so I trust this, this Captain Mike. And I said, hey, look, Mike, like you go there, I'll go here. And then these are the things I need to know and just bring that back to me. But I trusted him and I had that oxytocin, and Mike is he's a great guy for one. So yeah, you do get that from that. So it was funny because as I read the article, I was really like, wow, oxytocin really feeds into kind of team building as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else that I like to link it to, Science of Likability. We went into that book quite some time back. So go back to the archives if you want, those of you listening. If you're watching, you got to go before video. In the Science of Likability, it tells you how you can relate to people, and if you bring up those happier moments. So you investigate, you talk to people, you learn about their happy moments. Then when you're seeing them, you kind of refer back to that, not a conversation, but the topic, and you talk about it. That's a way for you to give somebody else a shot of that oxytocin, because you're bringing up something that makes them happy, makes them feel good, so they feel good in your presence. And now you're doing something for someone else. The other thing I wanted to bring up about the oxytocin is you don't ever want to just look at somebody, hey man, I need some oxy, because they don't know what you're actually talking about.
Yeah, no, that's not what you want, Ethan. You don't want Ethan walking downstairs in his little robe going, Dad, I need some oxy. Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
That's a different drug. We don't want to get into that. But it's the idea behind it, and that's what's great about it. So the article we read about, Ed, they talk about here, it's what's especially great about oxytocin is that it often works two ways, and that's what I was just referring to. So it's a two-way street. We can receive it from each other. Those long hugs, giving both you and the hug receiver a dose of oxytocin. That's that one thing I was warning you about earlier, people. Don't just grab people at work and hug them. You can get in trouble. That's a bad thing. Unless they're opening for a warm embrace also. Also, a kind gesture delivers a little oxytocin to both you and the person receiving the gift. I almost called you Ethan. My bad, Ed, because that's not a diss. I get my shot of oxytocin when I see this, man. Oh crap! I get my shot of oxytocin.
I was just thinking.
I'm dropping stuff. But I get it when I look at this. This is something you gave me, and I think when I see it says "pay the bill," man, it gives me that little shot, because I'm like, I was proud of it. I was proud of the conversations we had. I was proud of the gift, and it's just one of those things that I can look back upon and say, wow, man, that's a good friend. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have this, I can't turn the camera, but I have this Batman painting over my door to my office, too, that I can see every time we sit down to do a podcast. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was
a
painting.
And that's one of the things for oxytocin, right? Giving a gift. When we started this podcast journey, I found a microphone in my office. That was one of those gifts that started this journey.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just so much about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's good.
All right. So oxytocin. Did you miss anything, buddy?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right. So according to our quick chart, which you'll find on our closed Facebook group when I post it, this is considered the love hormone. It is social. You often receive it or give it. Socializing, physical touch, petting animals. Petting animals, when you pet that, I think I can see how therapy dogs help, or helping others. When you help somebody else, not only do you give oxytocin, but you also receive it. So those are quick ways to help, kind of help you kind of feel good today.
Hello.
So if you hadn't done something nice for someone, today's the day. Ed, you there, buddy? Oh, there you are. Okay, you froze on me for a second.
I'm here now. Yeah, I think one of us froze. Technology.
Yeah, technology is it's so finicky. All right, Ed, we're going to get into serotonin next. We're going to talk about serotonin. Okay. You want to dive off this one?
All right. So serotonin is so just like the previous ones we talked about. This is another social chemical. But the article talks about it's a little bit different because this one, serotonin is also known as the leadership hormone because it plays a role in the dynamics of pride, loyalty, and status. When we find a sense of accomplishment or recognition from others, we are experiencing the effects of serotonin. This could be from receiving your diploma, crossing the finish line in a race, or being appreciated for hard work in the office. Serotonin can create strong and positive emotions. So this, for me, this is the importance of, in the military, and I think you could do it in the civilian sector, and I'm sure there are people that do. This is the importance of this, Brian. This is what makes these important to me, right? Because this is a challenge coin. So for those not in the military, this is supposed to recognize excellence, but it's like more like on the spot, right? Like not writing up an award, submitting it for approval. This is like you, Brian, after you finish school, you'll be running around with a pocket full of these, and you see a soldier and they're doing something phenomenal, something out of their normal responsibilities. You can pull them aside and say, hey, I saw what you're doing, and kind of tell them the reason, and then you present them this, and then they're going to get that release, right, of that serotonin because you recognize that job well done. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? So that's one of those things. I mean, I love when I go on my trips, I love for the captains that I travel with to say, man, I got a lot out of that because that's my shot of serotonin. I mean, really, you could probably get a little oxytocin in there because it's a team thing. But so that's kind of the importance of serotonin as the leadership hormone. So what do you think about serotonin, Brian?
So I would definitely say that I already started with the coins back in my last year, and I loved it. And it's a two-way street. It talks about it right here. It increases serotonin can help build both sides of a social dynamic, right? So both sides, just like oxytocin, serotonin, and what Simon says in his book, he talks about serotonin along with oxytocin because he calls those are called the selfless chemicals. All right, so achieving only part of so finding and building and achieving is only part of the story. It is manner in which we make progress that is core to our ability to do well in a dangerous world. It is the selfless chemicals that make us feel valued when we are in the company of those we trust, give us the feeling of belonging, and inspire us to want to work for the good of the group. That's, to me, that's what's important about it. It's like it makes us want to do more for others and stuff. You talked about it being a leadership drug, and I think yeah, you're right on top of that. It says serotonin is what motivates a leader to excel and grow their influence. Hello, instinctive influencers, to win awards and become popular in the news. But serotonin also compels their followers to do well, to not let down their leader and parent or teacher and excel in life. Right? It's that inspiration. I find serotonin it's inspirational. It's the drug that builds inspiration or influence within. It's one of those things you don't notice it so much as you would say oxytocin, like that immediate shot, but you can feel it growing within you. Serotonin also plays a role in many crucial systems in our body beyond just our well-being and happiness. It is believed to affect digestion, bone growth, and even organ development. So it's crazy how this particular drug, Ed, it's not just a feeling, but it's with our, like, the actual process of our body and what it does. So it helps kind of incubate all these different things and make us feel better. I would definitely say that you don't realize it all the time, but sometimes, like, just going outside and being in the sun helps with the serotonin. Yeah. One of the things I thought was pretty cool about this article, Ed, it doesn't talk about it with the other drugs, but the types of foods that you eat. And with those types of foods can help release not serotonin, but help the body feel good, which will help serotonin be released, if that makes sense. It talks about apples, barley, beetroot, berries, blackberries, citrus, cold potato. I've never had, cranberries, garlic, all these different. It's a whole rigmarole of things. He says you can't eat serotonin, but you can boost serotonin happiness with foods in two ways. First, you can add them to your diet that support the good bacteria to produce short chain fatty acids. So those short chain fatty acids are what help you. In addition, that you can add foods that naturally contain. I'm probably gonna butcher this word. Tryptophan. We say it's tryptophan. Yeah, maybe.
Tryptophan. Tryptophan. You know what
it's
that is,
I can't
right?
read.
That's what gives. That's what gives
No.
you the. That's what gives you the itis on Thanksgiving. It's the tryptophan in the turkey because there's a lot of it in turkey. That's why if you think about it, you eat and then you're ready for
Yeah.
That's the only reason I know it, because somebody's like, "Oh man, this tryptophan made me really tired." So yeah, it gives you the itis on Thanksgiving.
Okay, so tryptophan helps out, which is the essential amino acid the body uses to produce serotonin. So it's an aid to it. So if you think about it, right now, Ed, if you're eating these good foods that we're talking about that's in this article, you're probably getting dopamine and serotonin from it in a way, right? So you're just eating helps bring that dopamine, and then the serotonin from the tryptophan helps out. That's pretty cool. And some of the foods that are rich in tryptophan, you got sunflower seeds, soybeans, oats, wheat, potatoes, milk, cheese, chickpeas, eggs, beef, chicken, turkey, salmon, cod, all these different things. So that's pretty cool. I never even. Yeah, I know, you're making me hungry now. I don't even have breakfast yet. That's crazy, man. I'm glad to know that now. From this.
Yeah. Good old tryptophan. And that's the thing. Like diet plays a role. It's funny. I don't think you think of diet plays that big of a role in the your happiness and how you feel and those chemicals being released. So that was kind of interesting to read in the article too. It's like, oh wow, like it makes you feel better, right? And people always talk about, well, I changed my diet, so I started feeling better. Well, that's why you're feeling better, because you're increasing the amount of serotonin that your body is releasing by eating a better meal. And then there's more, which we're getting ready to talk about in our last point, more reasons behind a healthier lifestyle making you feel better about life and happier.
Yes. And I want to back this up slightly too, Ed, with the whole eating to receive dopamine and serotonin, that it can turn into a dangerous thing also, because sometimes that's where obesity comes into play, Ed, is because people they're just eating for the feelings, the addiction to it, the dopamine being released from the foods. I'm gonna tell you something, buddy. Thank goodness I'm allergic to beef, because I don't know do you know what's in the middle of a Twinkie that's called that cream? They call it fallow. No, it's called fallow.
Okay.
But it's primarily, literally, you look it up, it's basically beef fat and sugar. That's the main ingredients for fallow. And I used to love Twinkies. Yeah, it's weird. I used to love Twinkies, and if I could still eat Twinkies, I probably would. But I'm glad I can't, and I wouldn't be getting all that dopamine and gaining all that weight. So, so we'll close out serotonin real quick. Basically, serotonin, by our quick reference sheet, which you can get yourself on our closed Facebook group. It's the mood stabilizers, and the sources are sun exposure, mindfulness. So some types of mindfulness helps because you're clearing that, and even nature walks. So yesterday I got Oxytocin, get to hug my son during a nature walk. We took a nice nature walk in the woods. I was definitely getting some serotonin. Let's see. The dopamine was probably released when we received our goal at the end of the 4 miles and some change that we were trying to do. So I got at least 3 of them, but I probably got one more. I probably got that last one, didn't I, Ed?
You definitely got the last one, I'm pretty sure, which is endorphins.
Yes. Endorphins.
You had to release some endorphins. Like, So endorphins, the article refers to it as the natural painkiller, but more importantly, this is the runner's high, and it's more than a runner's high. They call it the runner's high, but at least I experienced the same thing from a really solid workout or a good bike ride. Don't get wrapped around the axle on runners high, but that's that
Yeah.
endorphins. And it's funny, natural painkiller. So we all know that I had a incident many years ago. And when I start running, man, for like the first probably half mile, my gait is not the same because of the pain in my leg and my ankle, right? But then
Right.
I now believe that my body producing these endorphins during the start of the run is where the numbing, because I don't feel it. I mean, I can run 4 miles and I only feel pain for the first half mile. And then after that, so that's kind of a natural, your body producing that signal blocker for the pain to allow you to go a little further. And this is also a big reason that people talk about exercise as a way to overcome stress, right? I also was thinking, I was thinking earlier, Brian, while you were talking, and so you're an early morning workout guy normally, at least you used to be when we were together, right? But
I still
what's
am.
that do?
4:30.
Yeah,
I'm in
and
the
what's
gym.
that do though? That to me, in my mind, Brian, it sets the tone for your day. You go in there, you get your workout in, you
Yes.
get that runner's high, right? You release these endorphins, and then you feel great throughout the day. Whereas, in my experience, if I don't get that early morning workout, I feel kind of sluggish. I feel off the rest of the day, right? Because I didn't get those endorphins released. So maybe that's our addiction is we're addicted to those endorphins to start our day. And that's why my
Yes.
wife tells me go to the gym when I'm grumpy. She's like, just go to the gym right now. Go. So, uh, yeah, so that's kind of the thing with endorphins. And then, they're released in response to pain, discomfort, right? Because when you start running or when you start doing an activity, your body is producing some discomfort, right? And then
Right.
in response, the endorphins are released. Sorry, I got an itchy eye here. But then the endorphins are released, and that kind of changes your mood for it, So it's a few things. And then another thing I took out the article is the endorphins help you to push your body beyond. This is how you get your PR, Brian. And I know you got a lot to say, but I want to go to this real quick. So we're talking about, Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. Colorful language in this book. It
Great
is a
book.
good book,
Great.
but just be aware there is some colorful language.
Yes.
He has done so many podcast interviews. His language is very, 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 very explicit. So just know this, but his message. So he's talking about helping your body push beyond, right, your comfort level. And his philosophy is called the 40% rule. And he says the human body is like a stock car. We may look different on the outside, but under the hood, we all have huge reservoirs of potential and a governor impeding us from reaching our maximum velocity. So he says, in the car, the governor limits the flow of fuel and air so it doesn't burn too hot, which places a ceiling on performance. It's a hardware issue. The governor can easily be removed, and if you disable your governor, watch your car rocket beyond 130 miles per hour. Then he talks about us. He says, our governor is buried deep in our minds, intertwined with our very identity. It knows what and who we love and hate. It's read our whole life story and forms the way we see ourselves and how we like to be seen. It's the software that delivers personalized feedback in the form of pain and exhaustion, but also fear and insecurity. And it uses all of that to encourage us to stop before we risk it all. But here's the thing. It doesn't have absolute control. Unlike a governor in an engine, ours can't stop us unless we buy into its explicit and agree to quit. So what he basically says in this, Brian, is when your body tells you, I cannot do this, I can't lift anymore on this deadlift, I can't run any further. Yeah, that's 40%. That's your 40% max. You still have 60% in the tank that you can overcome. And through training, you can add 10%, until you're maximized. I mean, this guy runs hundreds of miles regularly, right? Like in
Oh
pain,
yeah.
shin splints, all this stuff.
Yeah.
His stories in here. So the sad thing he says is most of us just give up around that 40%. We let our mind win. And I mean, I don't know about you, Brian, but I'm sure you've been on a run, right? and your body's been like, all right, that's it, I'm tired. But are you really? Because if you were in a formation run, right, or in charge of the formation run where you're out front and your body's like, I'm tired, but you keep running because you don't want the soldiers to see you fall out and quit, that means you did have something left in the gas tank. So I just thought it was really important to talk about Goggins' 40% rule. I can actually remember being at Fort Benning, basic training, and when you would run for the PT test, the drill sergeant wouldn't let you stop unless you vomited. And he would tell you, you've got at least 20 more percent you could give. Run the track again. And you would literally finish your 2-mile run, and he would make you run again unless you vomited. So there's more in there. And that's where it all plays into these endorphins and pushing. It's those endorphins that helps a guy like David Goggins push his body. This is how you get your Navy SEALs. This is how you get your special forces. These guys who are, we view them as being elite, military machines. It's because they've mastered the endorphins and how they can help them push through, Brian.
Yes. You kind of, I think you wrapped almost everything up in there that I could probably do. However, you brought it up about the whole, can I push further? Can I push further? Yes, exactly. One of the things I watched a video on this guy named Chris Henshaw. He's the aerobic coach for Rich Froning and his CrossFit Mayhem, all this stuff. But he's the aerobic. So he's primarily anything that's dealing with running, cycling, rowing, that aerobic performance. He gives all those different advices. One of the things he said was, and I actually learned this when I just did my health assessment recently, is when you're running, it's not about the distance of your gait, but it's the pace of your feet hitting the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The less contact to the ground you have, meaning faster pace or your legs cadence moving, the less you'll have injuries and the faster you become. And he says most people, they like to run at like a 150 cadence. Instead, he says what you want to do is you want to increase that cadence from 150 to 180. So that's 30 more of the cadence.
Steps per minute,
yeah, man, it's so I set my Garmin watch. I have a Garmin watch. This is in the bedroom in there, and I set it to where it gives me a little beep every time. Either I can choose either my left foot or my right foot, but I'm in the military, so you know me. Every time my left foot hits the ground, type thing. So every time my left foot hits the ground, I hear a beep, 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 beep. You said something about the quit, right? When you feel the quit. I can feel that quit. Like I really want to quit running. Like sometimes I'm just like, man, why am I running? However, that beep is my distractor to get out of my own head and to tell myself I gotta hit the ground one more time. Got to hit the ground one more time. Got to hit the ground one more time to push beyond that threshold. But from what I learned, right now I'm running at a 160 cadence, and I'm trying to gradually build it up by 5s. It's not easy, but the way he explains it is you're going to see less injuries and you're going to get faster and you're going to have a better VO2 max, all these different things, because the body will learn to regulate itself to get to that point. And those endorphins you're just talking about will kick in to help with that. There was something, you brought up the endorphins for the workout side, right? And we are big advocates of people to do whatever it is you need to do to make yourself healthy. You and I have talked about working out is working out. Going for a walk is going for, all these different things are the greatest things you can do for your body to release many chemicals. However, there's the other side of endorphins that you don't think about. For instance, when you have that gut-wrenching laugh, like we had before the show started, and I told you I almost peed my pants because I was laughing so hard at my stomach. My stomach, it was starting to hurt. Well, the body, when we do those laughs, our body, it's tightening those abdomens and stuff, and it starts hurting. You have endorphins that get released that allow you to laugh longer, type thing, because it's the blockers. Those endorphins are that blocker to get rid of that pain for that short amount of time.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just work out, Ed, to get, to release endorphins. You you could have a good laugh with a friend, and watching a good funny movie with your spouse or loved one or whatever. So there's a multiple ways to go about this, Ed. It's
You can also
endorphins.
have an ice cold bath, or a Viking bath, or you can have ice cold shower because you're going to be uncomfortable, and those endorphins are going to be released to help you deal with that discomfort. So we talked about earlier the bath, and you in Korea with a bunch of ice. I mean, you released a lot of endorphins because you were probably miserable.
Oh, it hurts. So like you know what hurts though? If I'd have laid in it and kept my ankles out of the water, I would have been fine. But it was my ankles that it was just like that, that throb like crazy. So it's funny you brought up the ice cold shower too. Great book, Patent Principles. You're the one that turned me onto that, and I bought it, and it's in the other room. He was talking about taking cold showers to help the body before anybody ever said anything about it being endorphins to help out. So he was like a man ahead of his time with that. Like he talks about how you want to take a cold shower to wake you up, to get you feeling good, to kind of make the body do what it needs to do. He was already basically saying, hey, do this because you're going to get some endorphins from it, type thing. You know what I mean?
He just didn't understand the science to it. Yeah. And it does help. I'm telling you, like if I have a long night and I got to get up and go to work early in the morning, a cold shower helps. If you think back to heavy drinking when you were younger, right? You got up in the morning, a nice cold shower would kind of make you feel a little bit better. My wife says it's getting the stank off of you, but it's really those endorphins getting released to kind of counter that hangover or whatever you have going on. So there's a lot to, I mean, I enjoy a good cold shower just to kind of get going in the mornings, especially if I take a shower, going into a long day.
Absolutely. So according to our quick chart, endorphins, the painkiller, how do you get this? You get this from exercising, laughing, and even listening to music. It's just one of those things. So people need to go out there, go running with a friend, and congratulate each other and do things. The point is just to do different things to release these chemicals. All right, so here we go. Each of these chemicals plays a huge part in the way our bodies function, physically, mentally, and emotionally. I've only touched on the surface, and I really encourage you to learn more on your own. By understanding the role these hormones have, you can better understand how they are affecting you in everyday situations. The more you know, the more you'll be able to take control of those effects and enjoy a healthier, happier life. Sounds worthwhile, right? All right, so here we go. Dopamine, the good and bad habit form. All right, so an incredible tool when used appropriately. So let's say we monitor our dopamine by not becoming addicted to things, but enjoying the things of life, right? And how do you do that? Well, it's just, am I grabbing my phone first thing in the morning, looking at my Facebook feed, or am I finding myself when I should be driving my car, picking up my phone, looking at things like that? Those are the things we have to be careful of, right? Those are the bad habit forming, or overeating. Overeating can create that dopamine that it's a bad habit forming, right? Oxytocin, the hugging drug or love hormone. Oxytocin makes us social and builds relationships with trust and loving feelings. So that's that, giving that love. It's every time I see my children, giving them a hug, I want to give them that, that warm feeling of oxytocin. Serotonin, the leadership hormone, as you call it, heavily related to pride, loyalty, and status, right? So, and pride can be a dangerous thing. It can be, but at the same time, it can be very important, Ed. Having pride in our unit, having pride in our show, or having pride in our family, those things. I know you're proud of the Haley name, and you have pride in it, but it's not a toxic pride. It's a good pride. It's, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of my name. That's great. And then endorphins, the natural painkiller, the runner's high, as you call it. If you really want to learn more about this, individuals, I would tell you Leaders Eat Last is a great publication by Simon Sinek. Simon really goes in depth. He explains it in a way that's important. Even somebody as simple as I can understand it. it's just great. This article I found, I can't remember. It was like a WebMD type website. I can't remember actually the name of it. And to tell you the truth, I put the link on these, and I did not. This is the first time. Or if you just want a quick reminder, this will be left on our closed Facebook group. You can get this, or you can screenshot what I'm showing you now, and you can try to add it to whatever. Ed, I would definitely say the point of this entire show, it wasn't to like talk about chemicals and all this and the scientific thing, but it's thinking about self, like we talked about earlier, and then thinking about others. You can actually do these different things to help not only yourself but also others around us, and that's the whole point about being a good influencer, or good to inspire others, or to be a good leader, or whatever it is you do, or to be a good follower or a teammate. Whatever it is you do, that's what this is going to help you in that effort. That next time you see somebody do something, comment on it. If it's good, say, hey man, great job, I appreciate that, or thank you for this, that helped me here. Because when you say, so for instance, Ed does something nice for me, and I say, hey Ed, thank you for doing this and help me, not only am I giving him the shot of some of these chemicals, I'm also receiving it too, because I feel good about what I did. So other than that, Ed, what you got, brother? How do you want to close this one?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our listeners to provide us with a shot of dopamine by going to our social media platforms and giving us a like. Some comments, 101 Influence on Facebook and Instagram, Instinctive Influencers podcast website, and then the YouTube channel. Give us the old thumbs up and a couple of real positive comments, and we will get that shot of dopamine. And then I want to thank you, Brian, for our close relationship and broadcasting here today. Give me a good shot of Oxytocin. So, I mean, we're covering this stuff. But, yeah, seriously, fans, like, if you listen to the show, you like the show, let us know you like the show. I mean, I don't want to get addicted to the dopamine from it, but, yeah, I kind of do for this case. All right?
Yeah.
So, check us out on social media. Check us out on the website.
So I think, and if they don't even want to give us the like, or they don't want to give us dopamine, they could give it to somebody else by even sharing the show with somebody they know, that they think, hey, you know what? I know such and such, and I think they could use some of this information, or it could help them a little bit along the way. Then they're doing something for someone else and themselves at the same time, man.
Yeah, it's useful to have this information is good for your kit bag, because when you have somebody, now you kind of can understand. For me, like, so if my wife has a bad day, rubbing on her back, why does that make her feel better? Well, now we know. We may know that physical contact, the release of oxytocin is what makes her kind of feel better after a bad day. So good things for your toolkit.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, so like you said, hey, if you could go to that YouTube, if you're watching it right now, just hit that thumbs up. It doesn't take very long, and it's not gonna sign you up for any type of reoccurring mail, or we're not worried about your car warranty. So that's not like, we're not going to call you about that or anything like that if you give us a thumbs up. So it doesn't hurt. If you want to subscribe now, that will give you a reminder. That will remind you that the show has posted a new episode, and you can watch it anytime. If anyone notices, and they probably do it, we didn't record last week, and that's because you had to go and do things with your loved one, and you both probably got plenty of these happiness chemicals, because it was an important week. Also, then you had to work, which was even more stress. So it's like, hey, sometimes we got to take those breaks. So those of you out there, you listen and watch, whatever, you may notice every once in a while we're not able to, because life happens and we have to do things, but we're going to keep pushing forward through that. Other than that, hey, check us out. Also, get that quick download if you want to just understand where things come from. Ed, you got anything else for the listeners before we go?
I don't think so. Let me think, Brian. No, I just we appreciate them listening and hope they enjoy the show.
Absolutely, man. All right. Hey, thank you very much. I am Brian.
And I am Ed.
And this is the Instinctive Influencers podcast. We thank you so much for listening, watching even. You have a great day. And you know what? Enjoy some of those happiness chemicals. Stay a legend. Have a good one. Gotta love it.